What's up, board game people? I've been away for far too long and the news has really piled up. Sorry for my absence, I'm back and ready for a new month and a new year. This is going to be a long news video, so please make use of the timestamps if you'd like to skip around. Hold on, because here we go. Let's take a real quick run through what's live on crowdfunding. Things are getting sparse out there with the holidays just around the corner. All of these are on Kickstarter. First up is Dark Venture with just a few days to go and breaking through stretch goals. This is a great solo, co-op, or competitive experience that has some awesome 80s retro art. Runar was launched by Ludus Magnus Studios and has already blown past its funding goal. It's a mini-heavy competitive game set in a fantasy world of Vikings and legends. Project EOS Rise is over halfway to funding, with 11 days left on the countdown. They've added a new expansion for the game, adding a new room to the ship. From there, the away team can embark on missions in the form of a dice placement minigame and encounter new challenges and unique rewards. The price for the Kickstarter edition looks spot on, and you could try before you buy on Tabletop Simulator. Check it out. Finally, there's SAS Rogue Regiment, which is funded and is running through stretch goals. The game gives off major Company of Hero vibes and puts you as agents dropping behind enemy lines and attempting sabotage and subterfuge to sway the war effort. I'll be looking at this one in more depth this week. As for coming to crowdfunding next week, I really didn't see anything that jumped out at me. Let me know if there's something worth checking out. Now let's get to the main event. Okko Chronicles' newest update is focusing on the expansion content now that the scenarios for the core have been revealed. This time we're getting the lowdown on the damned soul of Karasu. They gave us a good look at the tiles in the expansion, tokens, and some of the enemies that we'll be facing. Unconscious Mind ended their run on Kickstarter with over $1 million and 12,800 backers. Now the hard work begins. They'll begin the process of finalizing everything. Updates will continue to come typically every third Wednesday of the month, and of course they offer their thanks for making their dream come true. The Pledge Manager is planned to open in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Solo mode should be available on Tabletop Simulator around when the Pledge Manager opens. They gave a complete card list for sleevers. And to cap off the update, they presented a downloadable Christmas card with an Unconscious Mind and Endless Winter mashup. A new update from Harakiri, Blades of Honor, brings us improvements on the Kick and Go platform, allowing you to access your pledge on the platform much more easily with your email instead of a link. The community scenario creation continues, asking, who would you like to have crossover from another game to help you in your adventure? The game was on display at the Game Fair in Barcelona recently, and we have a few pictures of the game in action. We got a good look at the warty Sumo Seipo, and improvements made to the Oracle deck. Finally, they gave us a short video with close-ups of the PVC manufacture samples. Planetary playtesting performed perfectly. Well, maybe not perfectly, more than a few humans were harmed in the making of this update. But testing for Unsettled continues to reap great rewards. Several community-made planets are in the works for Tabletop Simulator that look fantastic. Beyond that, we got a lovely short art dump and timeline update still targeting early 2023. Looking more like late Q1 or early Q2. The Pledge Manager for Waste Knights closed at the end of November. If you haven't already filled it out, it's past time. If you missed the deadline, you'll not get your pledge with Wave 1. The next one is a long one, so feel free to skip ahead if you have no interest in Kingdom Death Monster, because I just couldn't break all this goodness up. The 100th update for Kingdom Death has been released to great fanfare. They provided the statistics of death celebrating their 10 years on Kickstarter and working on Kingdom Death for the backers. Poots really puts the now in printing Gambler chest into perspective, stating that it's comparable in size to the core game. Estimated delivery for the Gambler's chest is officially Q2 or early Q3 of 2023. They gave us a peek at the mini components for the chest, with the encounter board really stealing the show for me. The rulebook looks even better than the core book, and the new philosophy books are going to be the icing on the cake. The box is beautiful and the insert looks made to last. Hopefully it's functional as well. They also included some fun little comparisons of what they set out to make versus what they actually created. The difference is one of the greatest examples of scope creep in the board game industry, and a monument to why Kingdom Death is so praised by many. The rest of the update goes on to give great detail on the journey to the present, but more importantly, it provides an actionable timeline for moving forward and finishing the project out. I'll attempt to be as brief as possible while hitting all the high notes here. Hard Plastic Showdown board has an estimated arrival date of Q1 2023. The Frog Dog and the Black Knight expansions are slated to arrive in Q3 2023. Campaigns of Death, another item that bloated incredibly from the original offering, is expected to arrive in Q4 2023. After that, we're treated to a full Dark Herald focusing on the Inverted Mountain, which is looking like one of the most unique expansions we'll be enjoying this time around. We're getting a look at the lore and the mountain of plastic that makes up this campaign expansion. It consists of the Frog Dog, the Oblivion Mosquito, the Nightmare Ram, Griffin, Pariah, Red Witches, and the Black Knight, rolling them all into a single story of a lonely settlement at the base of the Inverted Mountain. As always, there are exquisite armor sets and immaculate bosses to be seen. This entire campaign expansion should be delivered by Q1 2024. Next up are the Wanderers, which are unique settlers that will join the settlement for a time and can lead to learning unique knowledge, fighting arts, philosophies, and more. These settlers will arrive over the course of 2023. So what about the Screaming God, Honeycomb Weaver, Abyssal Woods, Ivory Dragon, Silver City, First Hero, Pathfinders of Death, Super Survivors, Promos of Death, and the False Messengers? Well, these have been put aside to allow for the Gambler's Chest to be completed, and they'll hopefully be completed and delivered during 2024. What's one more year's wait, right? They show off some entries for the painting contest and give an update on the Possessed Twilight Knight, created in conjunction with Sotopop Miniatures. This should be reaching backers of that project beginning in late February of 2023. The Kingdom Death Simulator pre-orders were made available during their Black Friday sale with a special bonus resin key set. The simulator itself will be in early access for quite some time, I imagine. Last but not least, they gave us a tease of the future, something that looked quite nice, and they revealed that just one more thing. Really though, it was two, and these were added to the Gambler's Chest because they just couldn't help themselves. They slipped in some life tracking dice, and the big thing is a mystery miniature that we'll have to wait until it arrives to get a peek at. Now, how about we talk about another game, shall we? Euthia's Resurrection campaign gave us an update detailing the secrets on the map and how they'll work should you choose to play with them. You'll search for partially hidden graphics on each map tile as it's laid out. If you match one of the objects on the secret quest cards, you'll be able to try to fulfill that quest for additional scoring at the end of the game. The Gatekeeper from Atmosfear demands that you finish your Backerkit surveys now. They need final numbers as they're approaching manufacturing. Get it done or deal with his wrath. In Skyrise, now they're continuing to play hot potato with those 3D files and awaiting wash samples. The Pledge Manager closing has been pushed back until January 10th, and charges will happen on January 12th. Heroes of Might and Magic incredibly stole the thunder from Elden Ring, closing out the campaign with $3.8 million in funding and almost 27,000 backers. Coming in at the buzzer, they revealed that the community-voted expansion is the Inferno expansion. If you missed it in the campaign, it'll be available in the Pledge Manager for $35. The Inferno expansion and the Tower expansions are not included in the Collector's Pledge. Speaking of Pledge Managers, theirs should be opening in April of 2023. Nova Aetus Renaissance squeaked out an update with shots of some miniature molds and a closer look at Fatima the Traveler. Fatima is dedicated to range attacks and plays a support character, starting similar to a bard. Later in the game, she has a chance to become a fully fledged member of the Bard's Guild. Print and play file locations have been emailed to backers of the Escape from Stalingrad Z. The game will be printed in English, and translation PDFs will be available in January for French, Italian, German, and Spanish. The Witcher Old World has received mass production paper samples and have approved the paper components for manufacture. The game is officially being printed. Plastic components were approved long ago and their manufacture is almost complete. They've made the translated rulebook available for download by the links in the update. The timeline seems pretty safe from the recent COVID crackdowns in China. English printing and assembly should be finished in December and will be shipping at the start of early Q1 2023. The manufacturing of Solar 175 is well underway and nearing the finish line. The hope is to start shipping before everything in China shuts down for Chinese New Year's at the end of January. They'll be sharing pictures and gameplay explanations and more over on their Facebook page if you're interested. Wasting no time sucking you dry of your holiday money, CMON has opened the Pledge Manager for Cthulhu Death May Die. The Pledge Manager is being run through Backerkit and invitations should have already arrived. They will close the Pledge Manager on January 31st, 2023. Make sure you have your pledges sorted out by then because their customer service is as hard to get a hold of as toilet paper during the pandemic. Things have been rocky in the Mythic verse these last few weeks, with many designers, artists, and other positions being cut and contracts running out for employees. This was to be expected to an extent, but it seems they're cutting the company straight to the bone in a bid for survival. The good news is that the design work and art for most of Mythic's games are complete. They're keeping the staff on that are needed to finish fulfillment of their projects. It would seem that they're living from project to project, hoping to make enough profit off of each one in their web store to stay afloat. Color me on the side of cautious here. I don't think the cuts are cause for concern for backers just yet. I think they're doing what they likely need for survival, and the quicker they're able to deliver on those remaining projects, the better for the company as a whole. I may be critical of their communications and practices from time to time, but I've said and I will still say that losing Mythic from the industry would be a tragedy. I think there's still some great things to come from them once they finish out their obligations and regroup. The Dark Quarter has presented a deep dive into the investigators that you will play in the base game and expansion. They've explained that each investigator has their own deck of unlockable upgrades and specializes in one of 4 skills: talent, combat, arcane, and charisma. That isn't to say that they won't make use of other skills, just that their expertise lies in a single one. The character art shown in the update is spectacular. The ships are getting close to ports for Marvel Zombies Wave 1. This update features the plastics box, which I must admit is a bit FOMO-inducing. There's no denying that it would be fun to have all these little superhero minis to paint. The generic zombies, though, are an easy pass for me. Still not regretting my decision, and my wallet is still thanking me. Elden Ring ended their run on Kickstarter quite well. You can't really argue with £3.2 million raised from almost 14,000 backers. I know some are expecting higher, but I think Steamforged should be quite pleased. The final reveal for the project was a set of 4 quest books added to the core pledges and higher. The entire set of reveals has been combined into the East Limgrave expansion, with some great minis and a ton of content for backers. The Pledge Manager will open in 6 to 8 weeks. An update from the Zerywia reprint is posted. Late pledges close on December 10th. They're continuing to have issues printing boxes to finish the fulfillment of the first campaign. They're in talks with a local company to get these printed. We got a look at the Nyx work in progress model. The production of the resin models is underway and the wooden components are being made. Next update will explore a layout change for the exploration cards. They're hoping to have test samples of the translations in January or February. Explored, makers of the Tabaru game system, have officially announced that Vampires Masquerade Milan Uprising will be the second game to take advantage of the system. Milan Uprising is a cooperative miniatures game for 1 to 4 players set in a world of darkness. The game will be a narrative-driven experience in which you'll play as the anarch vampires of Milan, struggling for autonomy and against the oppression of the ruling Camarilla sect, featuring custom roleplay elements, personal goals, and secret information. The campaign will launch in the first half of 2023 and will absolutely be covering it. Aeons End Past and Future has great news. The games are finished being manufactured and will be hitting the seas soon, with landfall expected late January and fulfillment to begin in February. Addresses will be locked on Friday, December 9th. Make sure yours is correct. Flyos has ended yet another successful campaign, adding tons of value to both the core and the expansions of Werewolf Apocalypse Retaliation. They're building off their experience with chapters and hope to deliver a game that will wow backers for a second time. The final stretch goal voted on was The Hunter. The My Father's Work web app is now available. They're confident that this version of the application will bring players a great experience. The initial load time might be a minute or two, but trips back to the app should go much faster after that. My quick time flipping through the app went well, and everything seems to be very responsive and intuitive. Forsaken has dropped a quick update from the road while they're demoing at PAX Unplugged. Next for the team is a design retreat with tons of testing to get the next iteration of new content locked in. Everything is running according to schedule at this time. They're still working on the Pledge Manager and it's coming, so keep your wallets ready. Reggie Games has given us another update chock full of miniatures. They got a new batch in from the factory and they just had to share them. Everything is on schedule with their updated timeline. They're still making minor tweaks to the miniatures while they finish up development of the campaign. The miniatures are being made a tad bigger, around 10mm in most cases, to help preserve some of the detail. These are going to be monstrous. Finalization of all the files is not yet complete, but they're working on it. They've been writing and translating scenarios from Italian to English, proofreading cards, and working on the final graphic design for boxes, the rulebook, and other game components. They're also working with the artists to get final illustrations for all of the legendary items, important characters, and locations around the game world. Black Rose Wars Rebirth has begun plastic mass production. Their timeline is looking good, with fulfillment between April and July of 2023. Design work on the Apocalypse expansion and the Rotos box should be completed by January of 2023. They go on to detail Jukas the Traveler. Jukas utilizes his tool, the Vortex, to unleash time-bending forgotten spells. His Vortex token allows him to take control of the field of battle and sway it to his favor. The latest update for Stormsunder's Heirs of Ruin is announcing another delay for Wave 1. Sadly, or luckily depending on how you look at it, their testing has uncovered some cracks in the encounters and skills that cannot be ignored. They're currently almost done with the miniatures for Wave 1, and they've hired additional testers to come help up the quality of the game. The Pledge Manager will close on January 30th as planned. Beyond miniatures, they're also getting map designs in hand and have discovered the need for walls and doors and such. You know, the important things. They gave us a look at a sample map with walls present. Cephalofair has announced Gloomhaven role-playing game will be coming to Backerkit's crowdfunding in April of 2023. They have an official announcement posted to their website and did a live stream of the game on Twitch for those interested. As for Frosthaven news, not much in this update. Shipping is ongoing and products have begun touching down internationally. We'll get more detailed information this Friday. Another update for Arydia, The Paths We Dare Tread is available, showing the Pledge Manager closing on March 31st, 2023 and estimating delivery in June of 2023. The campaign playtesting continues as World Map 3 is being produced. They're now working on the why of combat, and they hope to keep players on the edge of their seats with interesting hooks and intimidating monster reveals. The results of their party size poll are quite interesting, with solo and 2 players taking top spots in a tie. Results were split when asked how many characters the party would include between 2 and 4 characters. They detailed the work being put into the user interface and map pointers. The map is slowly revealed as you choose which direction to explore. The pointers simply tell you which tile to place. The rulebook for Dawn of Madness has arrived. There's still a few minor tweaks to be made, but this is very close to a finished copy, and it's available for download in the update. Claude's Wanderer stage stories are now written, and they'll be organized, edited, and proofread. Linus is about 50% written at this point. Dice Throne's Santa First Krampus shipping has been underway for quite some time, and they're getting close to having the packages out. In the US, there are about 300 packages to go. In Asia, parcels are on the way to their local hubs. Shipping is complete for Wave 1 in Australia. Europe, Wave 1 is 80% complete. And Canada packages are all packed and should be picked up and on the way. Fractal Beyond the Void is awaiting what should be the final production samples before pressing the go button on manufacturing. They've improved the trays for the core and the campaign, and yes, they'll accommodate sleeves. Tokens have had some reworks, increasing their size a bit. Production will not be rushed to try and beat the Chinese New Year. They want to keep a close eye on quality, so production will begin after. The Pledge Manager and Late Pledge will close on December 20th. Good news and lessons learned from the Tanares Adventures project. The games are at sea and should arrive in around 4 weeks to the US and Europe and 2 weeks to Australia. The plan is still to have them at your doors in January. They walked away with many lessons learned from the project. COVID struck and has held on. The size of the project bloated and the company had to grow. Improvements were vast and many, sticking to their motto to make games for tables, not shelves. Everything took longer than anticipated, and the journal took the longest, and it became so much more central to the experience along the way. The RPG campaign may have been timed poorly, without having delivered on the board game first. They made mistakes along the way and would like to apologize. The extra space in the Legendary box wasn't a big hit. Communications fell off, and it wasn't great for anyone. In the end, most of the delay was for the betterment of the gameplay experience. They're proud of what they're shipping, and hope you'll be as immersed as possible. In the way of RPG updates for Tanares, they provided a full list of the Wave 2 contents, which will accompany the RPG books. Later this month, they'll make a PDF available for testing some of the new classes and subclasses. Feedback is welcome and will be considered. Production of the English wave of Vampires Masquerade chapters is complete. Shipping will begin in the next few days to weeks. They still need to make the journey across the sea and to hubs. Translated version files have been sent, adapted, and validated, and printing is ongoing. Now, quickly, let's talk retail. Rhino is making his way to Marvel Crisis Protocol and leaving nothing but chaos in his wake. It should be interesting to see how Rhino will interact with the heroes and the other members of the Sinister Six. The next Legendary Encounters release is going to be taking us into the Matrix. Get your decks ready, it's time to lead Zion to war. Fantasy Flight is announcing the newly repackaged Forgotten Age cycle for Arkham Horror. The repackage will continue the trend of having both an Investigators release and a campaign release. Descent Legends of the Dark Act 2 is officially on its way and will arrive in 2023. The game absolutely kept my wife and me on our toes, and we're completely excited to return to Terranoth in Act 2. The starter set for Star Wars Shatterpoint has been revealed. The set comes with a pretty impressive array of characters and a good amount of minis. You'll be getting both the light side and the dark side set with plenty of options, and of course they'll expand this offering at the speed of light. I know this was a particularly long one. I wanted to make sure I covered most everything that happened while I was gone. Hopefully not all of it's old news. I'm back, and while I might be moving a bit slow, I'll be getting caught up as quickly as possible. Thank you all for the well wishes and condolences. This has been a trying time that I wouldn't wish on anyone. And thank you to everyone watching. I couldn't ask for better viewers, and simply knowing that you'd be here when I got back was a big comfort. I have a video covering a campaign that launched this last week, and monthly videos in the works. See you soon, and enjoy your time with family and friends this holiday season.